All right, we'll get started with just some overview things while people are still logging in, and then do some introductions before we get started with the kind of meat of the presentation. My name is Melody Ferguson. I'm the Dean of Admission at Pacific Lutheran University, and I'm just serving as kind of the moderator today to try to make sure we don't miss any of your questions. But ultimately, you'll hear from two people who will introduce themselves in a second about our psychology program. And so we're going to just kick it off with some introductions. And if both of you want to just share, Michelle, for you, why you teach at PLU, and Ben, why you chose PLU. Obviously, these students are kind of right in the mix of that same question. So Ben, why don't you start?
Okay. Hello, my name is Ben Helgeson. I'm a student. I'm in my senior year, and I'm also the vice president of the Psych Club and a member of Psychi. So I originally chose PLU. I had a lot of friends going who were interested, and I had the opportunity to go on a tour, which was offering a little bit of a discount once I went on the tour. And the campus seemed really great. I remember really liking the food in the Commons when I visited, especially. I loved how close it was to home, just because I live about 30 minutes away. And I love being close to my dogs and my family. So it was great to have something that was close by and such a beautiful campus, as well as being able to join and have some friends with me to kind of serve as a jumping off point to making new relationships. And I also had the chance to interact with a lot of staff before I went to PLU, and everybody seemed like really great. Like it seemed like all the staff was super friendly and clearly enjoyed what they do. And in my entire 4 years, I've never had a single bad teacher. They've all been fantastic professors. Um, so I definitely cannot sing the praises of the staff at PLU more.
That's great. Thanks. And Dr. Michelle Ceynar, Chair of Psychology. I'd love for you to just introduce yourself, tell why you teach at PLU, and you can kind of jump into some introductory comments and overview of our psychology program before we jump into questions. One thing before you start, there's a Q&A at the bottom of the screen. I always forget to tell people this. So if at any point while we're talking, it sparks a question for you, feel free to type that in down there and I'll keep track of those. But we did have the questions you submitted earlier as well. So go ahead.
Hey, hi, Dr. Michelle Ceynar. I am a long-term member of the psychology department. I started at PLU in 2001. So I've been here for quite some time, and they asked me to say what I like about teaching at PLU. And I would say that there's many things that I like, including the food. We do have great food. But I think the thing I like the most is that PLU is just the right size. We have, it's big enough that there's lots of students to know and to interact with and to see in different classes, but yet small enough that I get to know students, and my classes are manageable in size, and I can get to know my colleagues from across the university. So I have done research with sociologists and hang out with some biologists and language professors. So I get to know a lot of stuff, and I get to learn too, because I've learned a lot of things from my colleagues as well. So that's what I like the most. So I'm just going to do a very brief overview of the psychology major, and I've got some slides here just to give you something to look at as we go through, and I'm happy to answer questions. There will not be a quiz, so I'll just go through it pretty quickly, and then Ben can help me out when we get to the end and to answer those questions that students know better than I do. So here's the current psychology faculty. There's several of us, and we're all very nice. And so this is our formal picture from this year. But we're also fun. And so we always also take a picture with weird hats. One of my colleagues, Dr. Taylor, she has these hats that she uses in her classes. And so we take pictures with the hats. So there we are as well. So psychology as an academic study, we have two degrees. We have a Bachelor of Arts degree and a Bachelor of Science degree. And they have slightly different requirements, and I'll show those to you. Essentially, you're still taking classes across the field of psychology from all of our faculty, get a firm foundation in each, but the two degrees, they're slightly different, and they can take you in different places, or they can play to different kinds of strengths. And there's also a minor. So we have a lot of minors as well. So I threw up some pictures. Some are from my intro class this last fall, and Dr. Finley is up in the corner demonstrating a brain. She's our resident our neuropsychologist. So like I said, no quiz on this, but just to give you an overview, the Bachelor of Arts degree in psychology, like at most places, is a broad degree. You start with an introductory psychology class and then take classes from different sub-disciplines within the field. One of the things that is somewhat unique about psychology degree at PLU is that we teach a combined statistics and research methods sequence of classes. So you take one, we call it Introduction to Statistics, but for both of them, we combine the understanding of statistics with research methodology. So students design experiments and they collect data and they analyze data for the two courses, generally over the course of a year or from spring into fall, which gives everyone a solid foundation for the other classes and for going out into the world after they graduate. We have some advanced courses, obviously, and we have an experiential learning component with both degrees. So all of our students do either an internship, serve as a teaching assistant, or a research assistant for psychology faculty while they're here. And then all of our students do some sort of a culminating project in their capstone course. So the classes are going to look almost the same. I'm just going to flip the slide to the Bachelor of Science, and you'll see that the big difference is that the students that are doing the Bachelor of Science, and it might be covered up for you here, do extra courses in other natural sciences. So they take an additional math or computer science class, a couple biology classes, and some other natural sciences, which could be chemistry or biology or physics or computer science. And their culminating project is empirical in some ways. They're collecting data and analyzing it. But otherwise, the two degrees are somewhat similar, and both can get you to wherever you want to go when you graduate. Not every school has both degrees. We just give students the option to do one or the other. So the experiential learning, I know one of the questions that was sent had to do with experiential learning. That's our 3 classes. So students may choose to do an internship where they're working at a site off campus, doing hours there, and then they meet as a seminar with one of our professors, and they talk about their experiences and decompress for that. I've got a few examples here of where students go, but there's lots of different opportunities out there. Our teaching apprenticeship is another similar kind of seminar, but instead of leaving campus, they work with a psychology faculty member to help teach a class that they've taken. So for introductory psychology or for statistics, they serve as a teaching assistant who works closely with that faculty member. And then a research assistantship, similar. They work with a faculty member on their research. So a few pictures again for you. This one here is Dr. Corey Cook. He's on sabbatical, so he wasn't in this year's picture because he's in Germany. It's hard to get somebody in a picture when they're in Germany. He was working with with a student on some COVID related research a few years ago. And here's a student that's doing some data collection in Dr. Finley's lab. And one of our newest faculty members, Laura Sneidman, she does some research at the Tacoma Children's Museum. So that is her doing that as well. We also have study away experiences, and Ben is the one that can tell you the most about this because he just got back from London. He's in this picture here with Freud. So these are all current pictures, or the most recent pictures, with the newly renovated Big Ben, with the Freud statue that's in London and on the tube, or at the tube. So we have some study away experiences as well. London and Germany have been our most recent. Dr. Cook has done the psychology of good and evil in Germany recently. So there's some opportunities there as well. And then the other question that I know we got was, what do you do when you graduate with a psychology degree? And this was just off the top of my head, a list, if you want to just kind of comb through it. Our students do everything. Psychology is a fantastic degree for just going out and being a human in the world. And so some of our students go on to graduate school, they get PhDs, they do exciting things in research, and they teach. Some of our students go on to become nurses. The student who's a certified nurse midwife. We have another who is actually one of our faculty members in the nursing school now. She has her PhD in nursing. Education's another popular place to go sometimes. We've got special education teachers, school counselors, school psychologists. And then other kinds of service industry things, working in the Department for Veterans Affairs, or being a behavioral analyst in the juvenile court system. And one of my favorite alumni owns a dog training business, Notre Dame Dog Academy. So she took my class where she learned animal behavior, and then she went out and actually used it for good. So there we are. So that's all I have for an overview. I think questions are much more fun than listening to me talk. So I'll just close this out so that we can see you.
That's great. Well, I think that's a good start for sure, and answered some of those kind of intro questions we had. As a reminder, we had some people join as we were chatting, so definitely feel free to drop some questions down in the Q&A or in the chat. I'll be checking both places. There is actually a question in there, and then after we answer that one, Ben, maybe I'll have you dive a little deeper into your recent study away experience to see if that creates some questions. So they ask, will doing a BS in psychology with a pre-medicine course plan be fine for trying to get into medical school?
Absolutely. In fact, that's one that I did not put on my list off the top of my head. I have another student who was in that same class with the one who does the dog training, who is now a doctor. He just is doing his residency in Oregon now, but he was in New York. And he didn't even do the pre-med necessarily when he was in at PLU, but then later went on to become an EMT, and then went to medical school. So yes. The Bachelor of Science in Psych will get you some of those courses that you need for the pre-med, but there are others as well that you need to take with, chemistry and all kinds of things. So we do have a health sciences advising program, and they can help make sure that you get all the prerequisites for it, so you're in good shape for medical school.
And their session is at 6 tonight. It's a good time. You can join us there as well. Yeah, and I think they'll talk about some of the various majors students pick and how their paths go. But I know I was lucky enough to get to study away as a PLU staff person, and it was also transformative to me. And I also got to go to London. So Ben, I'd love to hear a little bit about what you found valuable about learning about psychology in maybe a different environment.
Yeah, so I have studied away twice actually in my time at PLU. I think my first time was also J-term. It was just the month study away. But I would say my favorite part about getting to do it again, this last January, um, was just, you really don't realize how much you don't know until you get out there and observe other cultures. Even a culture you would assume is as similar to American culture as English, like in terms of their differences, you don't realize how different they are until you get there. Um, and being able to study away in London helped me, and study away the J term before this last J term helped to increase my understanding that the world is far bigger than I, even imagined it was. And um, I can very confidently say that that study away experience was invaluable, like extremely important for my life, as a human being to be able to have those opportunities. PLU also gave me lots of financial support. I won't say it was cheap, but it was very easy to get a scholarship. I probably could have spent more time looking into other scholarships as well, but I was also a global scholar for that one, and it was super easy to apply to. I remember it was pretty easy to have that money help out with my expenses in terms of studying away. Um, so yeah, I mean, in terms of its help in the major specifically, I would say, obviously it covered some of the upper division credits I had, and there were also tons and tons of students who were not psych majors who went on that trip, and being able to learn from them and get to know them better, because generally there's not always opportunities to like communicate between majors at different colleges. Being able to communicate with them and work with them on projects, and use all this experience to improve my knowledge of psychology. Um, Genuinely, I can't sing the praises of Study Away enough. If you do go to PLU, I highly recommend doing whatever you can to go on one of these study aways. The month study away programs are like super like low commitment. They also offer semester study aways. I don't know if they have any for psychology, but the J term programs, where you just study away for the 1 month in January, I love it.
And just so people know, I know some people have visited campus and some haven't. J term is just short for January term, and it's kind of a 1 month. I always call it like a snack size version. You take one class during that January. It's pretty intense. So you either take that class here at PLU, we offer J term courses, or you can study abroad. So we offer a variety of different experiences during that January term. And what's nice about those is like Ben said, they're kind of 4 weeks, sometimes even less. You're with PLU students and PLU faculty. So it's this really great, I think, way to dip your toes into study abroad. Or I know someone asked about pre-med. Pre-med can be pretty intense and you don't always get a break. And so what's nice is January term is rarely built into the kind of like a required curriculum. What's nice is, a pre-med student could do this psychology class even if they weren't a psych major, right? Because they just want to experience study abroad, but can't give up a full semester. So I think January term offers a lot of flexibility for students to do something that's important. And I think we've heard from both of our colleagues from psychology that it's one of the benefits of PLU is getting out of your department, right? And like going across campus and being able to kind of be innovative with others. And I think study abroad is a really nice way to do that. So thanks for sharing, Ben.
Yeah.
There's another question, but I want to ask one we've been getting a lot, and a lot of students want to double major or major and minor. And I wonder if you could share some like popular minors for psych majors. And then Ben, if you're kind of doing other things, how do you balance kind of multiple things that you're doing?
Yeah, go ahead.
There are a lot of our students who are double majors or have minors, popular minors are, almost all of them, biology, sociology, religion is always a popular minor. We have, a data science minor now that is a good combination. Anthropology, got a couple chemistry. So anything you can imagine, I think. I'm biased, I know, but I think everything goes well with psychology. You need to understand people, so it fits well with any other program. We also get a lot of popular double majors with like race and gender studies, or sociology is another kind of popular double, or biology for those that are doing the, especially with the pre-med track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I also think that's one of the distinctive qualities of PLU. I've just found it's a lot more supported on this campus. I've worked at 3 universities and it was not as supported to kind of double major, major and minor, get to not just be one thing. And so I think that's definitely great to share. Yeah, Ben, tell us a little bit about balancing a lot. And I actually think you might help this next question we have, which is about becoming a music therapist, which maybe you can't, but I know you also participate in music and psychology. So maybe talking a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a double major. I am majoring in Chinese studies and psychology. I'm also I'm getting an associate's, well, I should say I'm minoring in percussion performance as well, which is a lot of work, but um, let's see. I would say it's, at least for me, um, like what I learned in my learning and memory class um, has really helped me in terms of like uh, the classes in my other major and minor, because I mean, like you would think, that kind of makes sense. Like, you learn about learning and memory and you get better at learning and memory. Um, Genuinely, I don't think I would be anywhere near the achievement, being able to achieve what I have without having learned what I did in my psych classes about how to best learn information and things like that. And in general, I'd say it hasn't been too stressful. I really enjoy um, learning about pretty much anything. So it's been very easy, especially when the staff is always very willing to spend a lot of time to make sure that you understand, because the ratio, the student teacher ratio is like very, very, I don't want to say low. It's just there's a teacher for a very few amount of students, so teachers can spend a lot of resources on specifically you, and that has um, again been super, super valuable in my stats class. Uh, I was never very good at math, um, but being able to have that um, close connection with my stats professor, it made it very easy to um, get help when I needed it, and she was always willing to help me. Um, as for the minor in music, let me see, is the getting associates in music, planning minor in music. I do not plan on being a music psychologist, but I will say um, it is super, super easy to minor in music and also major in psychology. The classes in general um, don't really overlap, but the classes in music are generally shorter, and um, in terms of the way that they teach the content, it doesn't take as long. And if you already know uh, some things, you can test out of certain classes, um, which can speed up your progress, and maybe give you time to look into other interests as well. But I would say yes, it's super, super easy to minor in music. In terms of programs, you will have an advisor when you get to PLU, and they will tell you how to go about taking classes for both your major and minor. And it is absolutely super, super easy to do both.
Yeah. Michelle, do you have any experience with music therapy and kind of the path towards that?
I don't specifically, but I know that that's a growing interest amongst people. So I'm not familiar with the potential graduate programs and that sort of thing. But as an undergraduate, every psychology program is going to be a general degree. So you learn a little bit about everything. But if you know for sure that that's your particular interest, then certainly your advisor can help you pick the classes that might, be the best fit to the most of their ability. So we have like, it's called Clinical Psychology 1, which used to be called Abnormal Psychology, and then a Clinical Psychology 2, which is a counseling theories class. So my recommendation would be to make sure and take those if counseling in some way is in the plans. Because that can give you a good foundation, and doing an internship that has some relationship to music therapy. There's got to be options out there that would get you close to that at least, and would help you know what you want to do.
Yeah, I do think that's, we have a great music program and we have a great psychology program. So the nice thing is between the two, we should have the classes you need to get to those graduate programs, because most of the time you do need some level of graduate study to be a therapist or a counselor of some kind in terms of the licensing required and all of that. So,
Right.
so yeah, great question. And obviously, if you have specific questions about how your classes are going to transfer, you can always reach out to your admission counselor. And I can try to follow up afterwards to make sure you have that information. Yes, thank you for bringing questions in. And these are really great, like specific questions, which means you're really thinking about how PLU fits into your future, which is lovely to see. Ben, I'd love for you to share maybe your favorite class that you've taken as a part of the psychology program, and maybe to give a few more details about how many people were in that class, that kind of thing, so people can try to imagine themselves sitting in that seat.
I would say that's really hard because genuinely, I have, like I said, not been a part of a single class I did not like completely love. And I've taken quite a wide variety of psychology classes in my time here. If I really had to, I am in capstone right now, and my capstone research is largely inspired by my learning and memory class. I don't know how much we've talked about the capstone requirement, but I was very inspired by that class because growing up, I really had I was terrible at learning and memory. I thought I was very stupid, but then I got into this class and I realized that I was not stupid, and there were there were methods that I could employ in order to retain more information. And that really inspired a lot of what I wanted to look into in my capstone. And man, I'm in a class right now, neuroanatomy. I don't know if everyone would love a neuroanatomy class. I really love the neuroanatomy class. I have to say that is my favorite. As much as learning and memory has inspired a lot of what I'm doing now and like made huge impacts on how I perceive myself, as well as how others, interact with the world. Neuroanatomy, just being able to finally spend time to like learn about the brain and, what makes people tick in a way. As much as we don't know about the human brain, it's still very fascinating to learn what we do know. So I'd have to say neuroanatomy is It's got to come in second because I mean, learning and memory was like,
I like that this is such a hard choice for you, but also,
yeah,
I don't know if I've heard someone talk about how much, and because I always tell people college is going to be the place you kind of become your adult self. You're going to learn a lot about yourself. It's sort of a safe space in which to make mistakes, try things before you have to become like, quote unquote, a real adult. And it's kind of fun to hear that class both inspired your academics, but also really helped you understand yourself better, which I think goes to Michelle's point that psychology is a good fit for every major,
exactly.
which is so nice. Michelle, what's your favorite class to teach?
Oh, that is a tough choice as well. I'm gonna have to say intro psych because I've been doing it for the longest. I started teaching it when I was in graduate school. And it's just so much fun to introduce people to all of just an array of psychology findings and to kind of broaden people's understanding of what psychology is, and see the light bulbs go off really early, especially when students are taking the fall of their first year at PLU. So I enjoy teaching that every single year. But I also teach social psychology, and that's the area that I got my degree in. So I love that as well because it's the stuff that got me interested in psychology when I was an undergraduate.
Yeah, that's awesome. Intro to Psych is a really common first semester or first year course because it's required of so many majors. It's not just required to become a psychology major. It's required for nursing, for business, for all these various degrees. So it's also kind of an interesting course and who gets to take it, which is kind of fun. But it's also a course I think people just think you take in college. So there's people that sign up for it that way. It'd be one of our kind of larger classes, actually, which PLU is a small school or a right-sized school. I liked that as well. Michelle, about how many people are in that psych course?
We teach it it will probably be the largest class you would take at PLU. It's generally between 80 and 90 students in a class. But we do it very intentionally, and I love teaching it that way because there's so much energy in the room and I can collect some data and compare how people are responding to things in class itself. So we're really careful about how we teach it. We make sure there's extra time to meet with students one-on-one, and we have teaching assistants that help us out to make it not feel like a large class. So the first day it's a little overwhelming, but it's not near what it is like at the big, at the University of Washington, you're being 300 students.
I think it's actually like
Yeah.
600.
Is
So
it like 600?
yeah, it's a
Yeah, I
lot.
went to a smaller state school, so for me, 100 is as big as I ever got. But
Yeah.
but I don't think it feels that big once you're in it and you're used to the people, and it's taught in a really cool lecture hall in Xavier, which everybody calls the Harry Potter room. So it's
Yeah.
fun class to teach. Yeah.
Yeah. So just kind of shows you the difference. I don't know, Ben, how many people are in your neuroanatomy class?
That's really hard to say. I would say probably about 20. I did Psych 101 during COVID, so there was like I have no idea how many.
It was a little different in a virtual environment. Don't worry,
It was,
everyone. Yes.
Yeah, no, yeah, but anyway,
And you
I've
still majored in
never
psychology, so clearly you did a
exactly,
good
yeah.
job. Yeah.
I've never been in an upper division, or even like I think some of the other lower division class. I don't know if social psych is an upper or lower, but um I've never been in a class with more than 20 or 30 people. So it makes it really easy to get to know your classmates really well. Um, and obviously, like I said, the professors don't have to worry about 600 students sitting in
Yeah.
a lecture hall wanting to come to office hours and things like that. So um, it makes it very easy to communicate and make sure that you're on track. You have a lot of help. It's
Yeah.
not just like throwing you into the deep end and seeing how fast you can swim.
All right, I have one more question, but this is the last call for any questions from the people who are here in attendance. Ben actually already mentioned this, which is capstone. So we kind of talked about Psych 101 being that introductory kind of maybe initial experience, unless you're transferring in some credit for that. But kind of the culminating experience is capstone. Michelle, can you talk a little bit about what you think is so valuable about the way PLU does capstone, especially within psychology?
I think that the psychology department has designed the major really well to get students prepared for capstone. When you're a first year student, you think, oh, I have to do my own project. It's really scary. But by the time you get there, I'm hoping Ben will agree with me, you're ready for it. So in intro psychology, well, I should back up. With our capstone, our students present at a conference. They present posters at a conference at the end of this semester, and it's a public thing your family can come to and other students come to. And we invite the intro students to come and look at the projects that they may have served as participants for, because we collect data, or some of our students are collecting data. When you're in the statistics and research method sequence, in the first part, you also go to the conference and you see what you're going to be up for. The second part of that sequence, you do a presentation as well, with the group members that you're working with. And then again, when you're a senior and you're doing your capstone, you're presenting your own project. So you have a chance to see it twice, or more times if you want to go, and then participate in it twice. So it's a kind of a comfortable transition into doing a public presentation. Yeah.
Ben, did you feel prepared, or do you feel prepared? I guess you're like in the middle of it, right? And kind of what are you doing your capstone on? I know you gave us a little glimpse, but kind of maybe give us a little bit more detail. It's kind of fun to know.
Sure, I'd love to. I would say a lot of students get really nervous leading up to capstone. And I think that kind of creates a groupthink that's like, oh, it's probably very hard. But being in capstone, it's totally manageable. I'm taking 4 classes right now as well as capstone. Or sorry, not as well as capstone, included in the 4 as one of them.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, I would not. I don't think the school would let me do that. But I decided to do it with a partner. You can do capstones with 2 people, which really helps to like make sure that the workload is distributed and know, especially if you're working with someone that you know work well with, like me and Josh, who's the president of the Psych Club. We are capstone partners, and being able to like give each other tasks makes it really easy to do. A lot of people, if you're a BS, you have to do a empirical research project, which is what Josh and I were going to do. But we decided to switch to a literature review style. A lot of people really love the fact that they get to do research, and PLU supports a lot of the capstone process if you decide to do an experiment and maybe add to the literature in terms of an original experiment. My capstone in particular is about ChatGPT and whether or not it can be used to help educators. A lot of educators are really against the use of ChatGPT in any capacity in their classroom, and we would like to contribute significantly to figuring out how these large language models, which are becoming more and more popular in everyday use, can be used to help with learning instead of just being something that students copy the prompt and say, answer this for me. We're trying to solve that. And actually, our goal is to try and implement a program that we're, not a program as in a course or something that can be added into a teaching program that educates students and teachers on the best way to deal with ChatGPT. And next year, we hope to implement that into a classroom at PLU, which we believe would be, which we believe will not encounter any pushback, given that it's, looking into a new topic. So we're really excited about that. Every step of capstone, you're supported. You're given an advisor, which you choose. So if you vibe well with a particular teacher, you can just be like, hey, do you mind being my capstone advisor? And they will certainly help you. And the fact I'm not a computer scientist, but I get to do a capstone about just something that was interesting to me, and my partner as well, has been really, really awesome. I know I've heard from other professors who taught other schools. Generally, they really don't let you branch out, but PLU has allowed me to experience my ADHD to the fullest and look into basically anything that's interesting to me at a particular time, which has been very nice.
Thanks for sharing. Anything that either of you wish I would have asked before we wrap up this webinar? Or anything you want to make sure our prospective students know? Sometimes people are like, I really wanted to talk about.
I think the only thing I would add is that PLU professors really do want to work with students. We don't want to hide in our offices by ourselves. And although we do some of our own research and have professional things that we do, we in the psychology department love it when our students want to do it with us. So we try and take students to conferences, and sometimes there's a big group that goes to the Western Psychological Association, and they're presenting their research alongside PhD psychologists and graduate students. And I can't tell you how many times our students are mistaken for graduate students because they're doing that caliber of research. And they're just very professional in how they talk about things. And so it's a joy to watch, and it's an opportunity that you get at PLU, that you don't get at places where there's just so many students and not the type of faculty that really want to integrate that kind of thing together.
Thanks for bringing that up. I totally forgot to talk about the conferences, so I appreciate that.
I would also like to add that I was not like enticed to be here at all. I just genuinely really love like my experience. I know a lot of what I said is just like positive. So that can make it, I'm assuming, seem like I was like paid or something. I was not. I'm here on my own free will. And I just genuinely really love the fact that I had the opportunity to get to come to PLU. Yeah, like I said, the professors, the community, the fact that you are just supported every step of the way, which I've heard is not as common among bigger universities, is something that I will always be very thankful for. I think when I got here, I was very much in need of that. Like, you don't realize how, you turn 18, but it's like you're still not really an adult. You still need help, even if you think you can go at it alone. And I was definitely like, yeah, I need to go somewhere where I can have as much support as I need without having to break the bank. And PLU was there to help me on that journey. So
awesome. Well, we're lucky that you both have joined us this evening. We really appreciate it. If you have more questions, definitely reach out to your admission counselor and we can get you in touch with members of the psychology department. We also encourage you to visit campus this spring. We do a lot of class visits. The great thing about the psychology department is they have lots of classes that are offered, so it makes it a little easier to find something to match you with. So we'd love to get you in a psych class, or at least connected with a student or professor within that program. Also today happened to be the launch of the Psychology Major Minute. It's a fun YouTube series our marketing department did. So I'm going to put that link in the chat, but also check out admission pages to see it. It's just kind of fun to watch a faculty member try to describe their program in under 60 seconds. I find them always kind of fun to watch. So enjoy that. Enjoy your evening. Thank you all for coming, and hopefully we'll see you on campus soon. Bye.
Associate Professor